Hello, I'm going to be showing you how to drastically increase the speed of your Windows 10 operating system. Of course, there's always going to be a hardware answer to that dilemma, so if you're watching this video, it's probably because you can't afford to buy a whole new computer or the parts to upgrade. On that note, I do recommend as soon as you can afford parts to upgrade that you swap out your hard drive for a solid state drive. They are much faster and far more efficient. Now, let's get into what settings changes you can make to your computer to make do with what you have and get that working much faster. First off, staring at your blank desktop, you want to go down to the bottom left-hand corner and click on the Start menu, or you can press the Start menu key in the bottom left-hand side of your keyboard. And then we're going to slowly make our way up to where the gear cog is and left-click Settings. Now, in this menu, we're going to start from left to right, starting with System, and we're going to left-click System. And on the left side here, where we says Display Sound Notifications and Actions, we're going to first start with Notifications and Actions. Now, this is more of a quality of life thing you guys are going to want to do. Of course, this doesn't apply to everybody. Some people want to get reminders through Outlook and Office 365 for certain email and service providers. So not everybody wants to disable this stuff. However, it does get rid of some very bothersome things that pop up from time to time. So I tend to disable it. Next, we're going to go to the Power and Sleep tab on the left-hand side here and left-click that. I do recommend if the computer, if this is a desktop and it does stay plugged in, to disable the sleep option and just have the screen shut off, because later on I'm going to show you how to let Windows 10 take care of itself, because that also assists in the speed, because then you're not lagging from the downtimes it's waiting for it to update. In this same screen, we're just going to go to the right-hand side to where it says Additional Power Settings and left-click Additional Power Settings. And then in this screen, this is the old style control panel. They're still using it, where it doesn't matter if you go to higher performance or balance changes, whatever one you have picked, you just want to go to the right-hand side of that and left-click Change Plan Settings. And once we're in change plan settings, we're still in the control panel. We got an additional path to go. You want to left click change advanced power settings. And that's going to open up this window here. Starting off at the top where it says turn off hard disk. Now, if you still have a hard drive, this is going to make the biggest difference. It's just going to keep spinning and it's going to be ready when you want it to be. So we're going to go ahead and switch that to 0. Okay. Next, we're going to scroll down to where it says wireless adapter settings. This makes the biggest difference in laptops that have some range and they're far away from where their router is. You want to switch that to maximum performance. You don't have to hit apply yet, but if you're worried about getting out of the screen or you might hit cancel, you can hit apply as you make these changes and work your way down. Now, other people may have ATI Radeon, Intel graphics, or NVIDIA graphics, or PC. Here, well, this isn't going to have it. Moderate power savings. Here we go. So, or PCI Express. There's going to be different situations here depending on your own graphics card or what graphics capability your laptop may have, not your desktop. But bottom line, you want to switch that to turn off power savings or prefer maximum performance or maximum performance. You want to make sure it all says that. Finally, for laptops, this is probably going to make the biggest difference is the system cooling policy. I do not recommend the maxing out the minimum processor state to 100, only because I mean, unless you have a really, especially you have a really older laptop, it can get too hot. But you do want to set both system cooling policies to active, and what that'll do is keep your processor cool enough to act in those higher processor states as it wants, rather than maxing out 100 and overheating your laptop. And that's going to be the advanced power settings that changes that we're going to be making. Now, we're going to stay in this menu and just go up to the top panel here where it says Hardware, Sound, Power Options, Edit Plan Settings. We're going to go to the very start of the control panel, okay? And if your control panel does not look like this, we're going to go to the right where it says View By, and you're just going to switch it to category, because some people's control panels may look like small icons, large icons, but you want it to do category, just so you can follow along with me here. The first one we're going to go to is System and Security, okay? And then we're going to go into System. And this is the new system. This is where the new version of the system is going to take you. So if you're not seeing this, you are not on the most up-to-date version of Windows 10. Okay. Now, once we've entered this new system menu, we're going to go to the right-hand side where it says Advanced System Settings. This part is still going to look the same. So Let me go ahead and do this here because this is my recorded profile. Now, in this is the system property. This is going to look the same as it did in Windows 7 and Windows 8, and probably the same as far back. So that's the advanced. This is the advanced system settings panel. Right at the top where it says performance, visual effects, processor scheduling, left click settings. And if you want to click, just cross out a bunch of them because you probably have it on let Windows decide. You want to click adjust for best performance. And now you want to smooth edges of screen fonts. That's the third down, and then go up a little bit to where it says show thumbnails instead of icons. And those are probably the more convenient settings for most people. So that what that does is that means it's not going to blank out your pictures so you can't not see them when you're going through File Explorer. And smooth edges of screen fonts, I've had lots of people complain that their screen gets very blocky when they just do adjust for best performance rather than disabling smooth edges of screen fonts. So it's just a quality of life feature. Then you want to hit apply, hit OK, and we can close the rest of these windows out. Back to the blank desktop, we're going to go straight back down to the start menu again, go up to the gear cog, left click settings, and now we're going to move over to the devices panel. This is more of a settings change for laptops and for those of you using a touchpad, because I know it can get very agitating sometimes having to keep lifting up your finger to move it, and then you tap too many times and now it's clicking. So you want to go to the left side here where it says mouse. Then we're going to go all the way to the right side where it says additional mouse options. Then you're going to go to pointer options. And this is where you can make it a little bit easier to use on a touchpad, is increasing the pointer speed to your liking. And once you've done that, you just hit apply and then hit OK. And that's it for the devices section of the Windows 10 edit. Next, we're going to move over to personalization. Uh, of course, this is entirely up to you, but definitely disable the Windows Spotlight as that is an internet process, so it's a running program, and then switch that to a picture or switch it to anything you like. However, again, on most people's computers, I end up just disabling all this stuff because it's most of the time bothersome unless they want family photos, of course. And then we're going to go down from the lock screen, we're going to go down to the start menu. And just to make the start menu much simpler and have it make much more sense, all you want checked here is show app list and start menu. That's just going to give you a nice alphabetical list of all the programs in your computer without all the mumbo jumbo. And next, you want to go down to choose which folders appear in start. Usually, just to make life a little bit more convenient, I check a few more of those boxes, and then we're going to go back to the home. So you can click on the house, or you can click the back button a few times, but you want to get back to this screen here. Next, we're going to move over to time and language because this can be brushed over very easily. So for the date and time, they have a whole new system for this. Before, you used to be able to adjust it down to the detail, but now you just hit your Eastern time, make sure you're hooked up to, well, whatever time you need to be, and then hook it up to the internet and sync it. Going back by using the home or the back button. If you're not playing video games, we're going to the gaming section here next. We want to left click gaming. If you're not playing video games, you want to disable the game bar. Don't want anything overlaying any program you might, or browser you might be running for that matter. And next, we're going to go over to the search section. Actually, we can brush over the search section. That's not really that important. We can go into the privacy section. That's going to be the biggest changes here we're making. Right off the bat, in the general, right from the top, you want to disable all four of these. Now, this is mainly disabling relevant ad content, meaning so once you start browsing the web or going through Microsoft features, so using like Microsoft Edge, it's just not going to track certain things. Allows you to have a little bit more privacy. For the diagnostic and feedback tab here, you want to left click that. Uh, Usually you want to have it on required, you don't want it on optional, but mainly you want to scroll down to the bottom, and instead of having the feedback frequency on automatic, you don't want it on anything. You just want to switch that to never because you don't need anybody bogging up your internet speed for any other reason than what you feel like using it for. Next, we're going to go over to where it says activity history and left click activity history and just disable that because again, it's an extra feature of things going on in the background that are relatively unnecessary unless you are an advanced or elevated business user, which could be very special situations. So back over on the left-hand side, we're going to scroll down from activity history. We're going to make our way down to where it says background apps. More junk in the background. Right from the top, because you don't have to go and click and disable each and every one of these. You can just where it says let apps run in the background, and just disable those altogether. And that right there is a pretty big change in the privacy tab that makes all the difference. Next, we're going to move over to the Update and Security page. We're going to left click that. This is to make your life a little bit easier with following Windows updates because everything used to be extremely automatic, pushed through, and forced. But I guess that got more upsetting. However, it got less convenient. To make this easier again, if you leave your computer plugged in all the time, is we're going to go to the advanced options here in the Windows Update panel. So we're going to left click advanced options and just go ahead and check all four of these boxes. And your computer will basically spit out in front of you when it's ready to update, and it's just going to update pretty much as soon as it can, about 30 minutes after it's given you that warning. You can click remind me now, remind me later, not now, or restart right now. So you have it's not, immediate. You got time to react to it. And that's going to be the final panel for the update and security changes. Now that we've made all these settings changes, we can only hope that the computer has a little bit more speed in it to get you pumping through this next part. Because we got some uninstalling to do, more than likely. So we're going to go to the bottom left-hand corner here and open up Task Manager. Again, you could also just press the Start key on your keyboard and start typing, but you want to start typing out the word task, and you should have Task Manager pop up. You can left click Task Manager, or you can press Enter if it's blue. Once you have Task Manager open, this is the simple version. I don't recommend going into the advanced version because it's probably going to scare you if you're not 100% familiar with everything that's here, because a lot of stuff there might look like it's not supposed to be there, but it usually is. So keep it simplified and go ahead and start closing out things that you're not going to need open while we're doing this next part, uninstalling things. And once you've done that, we are going to go into the more detailed section, but not to close out programs, but to go to the top part here and where it says Startup, and you're going to left click Startup. Now, I've already gone through and disabled quite a bit, but if you don't have or do have a few things disabled, you can order them by what's enabled and what's disabled by clicking the status panel here, or the status tab, and that'll order everything out. You highlight what you want disabled and disable it. In most scenarios, probably don't want anything enabled at all, because the computer will still run Windows updates. It's only if you have programs and certain things, like if you play video games, a very good example. Steam opens up and starts updating games that very second. So that's an example of something you wouldn't want to disable if you like that feature. However, that does very much so slow a computer down. Next, we can close out Task Manager, and that is it for the Task Manager. We're going to go back down again, bottom left-hand corner. You know the drill. We're going to start typing out the word add or remove. It's already popped up for me. It popped up at add. Same thing. You want to left click or press enter. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And we're going to go through this list, or you're going to go through this list on your computer, of course, and you just basically uninstall anything that's absolutely unnecessary. You don't use it, that says web discover or coupon. It should be fairly blatant. Something you don't use, a program you don't use every single day. If you got other people in the house, ask questions. But you have options. There's things you could do, but basically you do have to go through, and it's not going to be this quick for you. I am running on a solid state, so uninstalling some of this stuff will be not fairly as instant for you, and you can't do some things more than once, or you can't do multiples of, so you have to do it one at a time. This is a good example, Microsoft OneDrive. If I click and uninstall Microsoft OneDrive, that usually takes a second, and on some occasions opens up the old style uninstall panel before it deletes itself. It's not going to do it. It's just going to uninstall itself. But that's an example. Sometimes it'll take a second. Sometimes it'll take a few minutes. The ones that take the longest are probably antiviruses, especially if it's like not a legitimate antivirus. It's probably going to fight you every step of the way and send you a survey, and you just basically want to, fight your way through the trash until you gotten rid of it. But this is I'm just doing this just to give you an example. This is what you're going to do. Go through, left click, uninstall, go through, left click, uninstall. And this could take upwards of, 30, 45 minutes depending on the speed of your computer itself. Now that's it for the disabling and deleting apps. Next up, I have some quality of life improvements you can make just right from the get-go is the start menu. So if we go ahead and open up the start menu, you could press the start key or you could left click the windows in the bottom left-hand corner here. A lot of people don't tend to utilize these tiles. If you do, you don't need to do this. You can move on from this. However, I think it's just a lot of clutter, a lot of extra junk that's in the way. You can go into the category rather than having to right click each one and unpin them. You can just unpin that whole group. And then you go into the corner of this start menu and you could just drag that down and it's much cleaner. You have all your links to your documents, all your folders here if you need access to them, and nothing but a list of all the programs installed on your computer. Makes it much more convenient and easier to sort through what you got. Now, before we restart the computer and really solidify all those changes, we might as well go ahead and get the Windows updates running because might take a little while. So if you haven't already gone through and done this, we're going to go to the bottom left-hand corner or press the Start key on your keyboard, and we're going to go ahead and open up the Settings panel again. And then in this window, we're going to go down to the very last one where it says Update and Security and left-click that. Then you're going to go ahead and left click check for updates. You also want to left click anything that might say download and install for any optional or future updates you may have, and just go ahead and push those through. I wouldn't be alarmed at any errors that may occur. Let it finish installing what it can, because chances are when we do restart the computer to finish the updates and solidify them, that it'll end up solving those errors. But you do have to come back into this menu and click check for updates. But mainly, all those changes that we made, especially for the startup options, will not make the largest speed difference until we get the updates finished and the computer is restarted. So primarily, the very last thing you want to do here is the updates, because they take the longest. And then, if you don't know how to restart your computer, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to restart your computer. Same thing we've been doing through the rest of the video. You want to hit the Windows key on your keyboard or go to the bottom left-hand corner and then just go up a tad bit to where it says power. It's the very first one from the bottom. Left click that and hit restart. That's how you manually restart the computer. But I recommend waiting until the Windows updates are finished and it says restart in that screen, or you get the blue and white box to pop up. Now, I left this part till the very end of the video, and I'm not sponsored by Malwarebytes. However, I just think it's pretty cool that the first time you do sign up and install, you get a legitimate, free scan and quarantine of things that are malicious and threats and possibly viruses, trojans, keyloggers, all that kind of stuff on your computer, which is pretty cool. I stopped using a lot of computer cleaners in the past just because in the grand scheme of things, yes, they do work. However, there was a pretty decent percentage in times where they would delete things that are important, or blue screen computers, and that small percentage, just isn't worth it. So I think it's pretty cool that once you've gone through all the last processes, if and assuming you're operating on the newest version of Windows, and you're still having an issue, our ultimate goal is to not install things onto your slow computer. So that's why I left this at the end. However, if you do think you have a virus and you're worried about it, I recommend a program called Malwarebytes, and I'll leave a link in the description for it.